I spent $87,000 on my son's house down payment. When I asked to stay for 1 week after my surgery, my daughter-in-law said, "This is our house. There's a motel 2 blocks away." I left with my stitches still fresh. 3 months later, the bank called her. "Ma'am, do you know whose name is actually on this mortgage?" She screamed. My son, Kevin, he was always a good kid. Quiet, not the kind that gets into trouble, but the kind that listens, the kind that notices things. Even as a little boy, he wasn't loud or demanding. He didn't ask for much. If anything, he'd thank you for things most kids wouldn't even notice. He was respectful, truly respectful. Not just yes ma'am and no sir, but the kind of respect that showed in how he treated people. The way he'd hold doors open, the way he'd help neighbors carry groceries without being asked. After his father passed, it was just the two of us for a long time. And Kevin, he stepped up in ways a young boy shouldn't have to. I remember nights when I was exhausted, barely holding things together. And he'd quietly clean up the kitchen before I even asked. He never complained, not once. When he got older, he didn't drift off like some kids do. He stayed grounded. Got himself a steady job at the shipping company downtown. Showed up early, stayed late, did everything right. People used to tell me, "You raised a good man, Ruth," and I believed that with my whole heart. When he married Lisa 4 years ago, I was truly happy for him. After everything Kevin had been through, I just wanted him to have someone who loved him. Someone who would stand by him the way I always hoped a partner should. And Lisa, she seemed like that person. She smiled a lot, the kind of smile that made you feel welcome, not forced, not polite. Just easy and warm. From the very beginning, she made an effort with me. She'd call sometimes just to check in, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The first time she called me Mom, I remember pausing for a second. It caught me off guard, but it felt nice, like maybe I hadn't just gained a daughter-in-law. Maybe I'd gained a daughter. On Sundays, she'd come by with pie, and I started to believe I had been lucky. Lisa seemed kind from the very beginning. She smiled a lot. The kind of smile that made people feel comfortable around her. She called me sometimes just to talk, to check in, to ask how I was doing. It didn't feel forced. It felt genuine. I remember thinking, she didn't have to do any of this. But she did, and every time she called me Mom, it softened something in me. I started believing she wasn't just my son's wife. She was becoming family in a deeper way. On Sundays, Lisa would come by with pie, sometimes apple, sometimes peach. Always homemade, always warm. She'd stand at the door smiling like she belonged there. Thought I'd gotten lucky with a daughter-in-law. When they started looking for a house in 2023, Kevin called me one evening. He said they had found a place, a 3-bedroom house on Maple Drive. He sounded excited when he talked about it. I could hear it in his voice, the kind of excitement that comes when someone believes they're building their future. He told me it was a nice neighborhood. Quiet streets, clean lawns, children riding bicycles in the evenings. Good school district too, he said, for whenever kids come along. When he said that part, I remember smiling to myself. Karma, because for the first time, it didn't sound like just a house. It sounded like a life being planned. A home where a family would grow, and I wanted that for him more than anything. The problem was the down payment. They were $20,000 short. I told him I'd help. When I sat down with my financial advisor, Margaret, I remember how calm she was at first. She spread the papers across her desk, adjusting her glasses, looking through every number carefully. The room was quiet except for the sound of her pen tapping lightly against the table as she calculated everything in front of her. I told her I wanted to help my son, that he and his wife had found a house and needed support for the down payment. She didn't interrupt me. She just listened, but when she finally looked up at me, her expression changed slightly, not judgmental, but serious. very serious, and then she said something I'll never forget for the rest of my life. She said, "Ruth, if you're putting in this much money, you need to protect yourself." I remember sitting back in my chair. Those words stayed in the air longer than anything else in that room. I trusted my son. But Margaret had seen too many families fall apart over houses, so she set it up a certain way. I signed the papers. Slowly, carefully, making sure I understood what I was agreeing to. The pen felt heavier than it should have in my hand. Margaret watched me quietly, not rushing me, not pushing me, just letting me decide. I remember the moment my signature finally touched the page. It didn't feel like just paperwork. It felt like a decision that would shape everything that came after it. Then I wrote the check, $87,000, a number that represented years of saving, sacrifice, and discipline, and just like that, it was done. I didn't tell Kevin the full details. I didn't tell Lisa anything. For the first year, things were fine. I would still visit on weekends. At first, nothing felt wrong. Everything seemed normal. Almost peaceful. Lisa would make coffee when I arrived, just like before. She'd smile, ask how I was doing, and act like those Sunday visits still mattered. We would sit together on the porch, watching the quiet street, holding our cups as the breeze passed through. And for a while, I thought nothing had changed. But somewhere around the second year, I started noticing small differences. At first, they were easy to ignore. A slight change in tone, a shorter conversation. Less laughter than before. Then Lisa began making little comments. Little ones at first. "Ruth, you don't need to come every weekend." Then it was, "We're busy this Saturday." Then Kevin stopped calling as much. I told myself they were just settling into married life. Then in January, I had surgery, gallbladder. The doctor said it was routine, simple procedure. Nothing to worry about. He said it the way doctors do, calm, practiced, like he'd said those same words 100 times before. But I'm 65 years old, and at that age, nothing feels routine anymore. Every procedure carries a question in the back of your mind. What if something goes wrong? I remember lying in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling lights as they wheeled me down the hallway. Everything felt cold. Quiet, distant, and in that moment, all I could think about was my son. I thought about how much I had done for him. How much I still believed in him. My apartment is a third-floor walk-up, no elevator. I couldn't carry groceries. I could barely get to the bathroom without holding the wall. So I called Kevin. I asked if I could stay at their house for 1 week, just one. He hesitated, and then I heard Lisa's voice in the background. He came back on the phone and said it wasn't a good time. I called again the next day, spoke to Lisa directly. That's when she said it, word for word. "Ruth, this is my house. There's a motel 3 blocks away. They have weekly rates." In that moment, something inside me went completely still, not anger. Not even sadness at first, just a silence, the kind of silence that comes when you realize exactly where you stand in someone's life. I sat in my car, in the hospital parking lot. The engine was off. The world around me felt distant, like everything had gone quiet all at once. I was still holding my phone in my hand, staring at it, as if something might change, but nothing did. And then I broke. The tears came slowly at first. Then all at once, I cried for 20 minutes, maybe more, not loud. Not dramatic, just the kind of crying that comes from deep inside, the kind you can't stop even if you try. I paid $190 a night with my Social Security money, watching it disappear faster than I ever imagined it would. That room, it didn't feel like a place to heal. It felt like somewhere you end up when you have no other choice. The air smelled like bleach mixed with something old that never quite went away. The bed creaked every time I tried to sit or lie down, and every movement pulled at my stitches. There was no one there to help me, no one to ask if I was okay. So I changed my own bandages, slowly, carefully standing in that small bathroom mirror, trying not to look at how weak I felt. Some nights, I didn't even have the strength to stand for long. I'd sit on the edge of the bed holding my side waiting for the pain to pass, and when it came time to eat, I used that microwave in the corner. It barely worked. Took forever just to heat up a simple cup of soup. Karma. And I remember sitting there alone, eating in silence, thinking about everything I had given, and where I had ended up. I didn't call Kevin after that. He didn't call me either. 2 months later, I called Margaret. I told her what happened. She got quiet for a moment and then said, "Ruth, you know what you can do, right?" I said I did. She made a few calls, sent a few letters. 3 months after my surgery, the bank contacted Lisa. See, here's the thing about that house on Maple Drive. Margaret had set up the purchase. Here's the thing about that house on Maple Drive. It wasn't exactly what Kevin and Lisa thought it was. When I sat with Margaret all those months ago, she didn't just give advice. She made sure everything was structured a certain way, quietly, carefully. At the time, it felt like a formality, something I might never need. But now it mattered, because the truth was simple. The mortgage was in my name, the house was in my name. I was the legal owner. Every payment Kevin and Lisa had been making, they weren't paying for their house, they were paying my mortgage, living in my house. I never told them because I never thought I'd need to. When Lisa found out, she called me screaming. Kevin came to my apartment that evening. I remember hearing the knock soft at first, then again a little louder. I already knew it was him. When I opened the door, he was just standing there, not saying anything at first. His eyes were red like he hadn't slept, or maybe like he'd finally realized something he couldn't undo. He looked different, not like the confident man who had been building his life, but like the boy I used to know, unsure, searching, waiting for an answer. He asked me what I was going to do. I told him the truth. I said I was selling the house. And I did. Closed in 45 days. I used the money to buy myself a small one-story condo with no stairs, a walk-in shower, and a front door that only opens for people who actually care about me. Kevin calls now. I pick up sometimes. Lisa has never apologized. I learned something at 68 that I wish I'd known at 28. Love your children with your whole heart, but never hand someone the power to leave you stranded in a parking lot with fresh stitches. Protect yourself first, because the people you do anything for won't always do the same for you. Comment on what city you're from and what time you're watching me. Send this video to someone